What's going on, guys? It's Sharif here with Adi Rio, and in today's video we're actually going to be looking at Pinterest. Okay, now if you are familiar with Pinterest allows you to save pins. Pinterest save pins of whatever you like around the web. You can search up anything: movies, cars, hobbies, things to build, outdoorsy kind of stuff, whatever, food, whatever, you name it. There's a lot of ideas on Pinterest. I'm gonna say Pinterest. There's a lot of ideas on Pinterest. It's a really cool app. I've used it for years, and at one point I was actually saving a lot of images, like reference images, when I was actually in a different field around 3D animation. I saved a ton of imagery onto Dropbox, but then Pinterest. Well, actually, it was Dropbox and Pinterest that I loved. But the older program that I like was DeviantArt. I would save a ton of stuff on DeviantArt, but then once I figured out that you could do the same thing or even better with, like, folder type of integrations and just a lot better features with that kind of stuff with folders and saving things, I found out about Dropbox and Pinterest. Okay, now Dropbox, obviously not going to talk about that, but in another video we're actually going to go over the UX for Dropbox. But in this video we're actually going to talk about some of the UX and some of the UI within Pinterest. Okay, and today's date is October the 6th, Wednesday. So obviously you're gonna have this kind of version of Pinterest. That being said, let's go ahead and get started. All right, but if this is like your first video of the series, basically we talk about or analyze the experience, interaction, animation within mobile apps and websites. In this case, we're going to be talking about a lot of mobile apps because there's a ton out there. So we're going to do a lot of those, and then eventually we're going to jump over to websites. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and go over to Pinterest. All right. And if you haven't noticed, I'm actually using on the right side is a Google Pixel, and then on the left side is an iPhone. And to be exact, a Google Pixel 4a, and then the iPhone is the iPhone 13, so the newest one. Obviously during this time of October 6th, 2021. Okay. So what we'd like to do in this series is kind of just, again, like I said, just go over the experience, go over some of the operating system information, the interaction, the experience, the design of the UI. It's interesting to see how the experience works on an iPhone versus an Android, right? It's really cool to see that, and just to really get a gist of how to design against those specific operating systems. Okay, and some other videos we talk about a lot of that too. All right, so my trusty iPhone, Google Pixel. All right, we have a lot of stuff here going on. If you really think about the use case here, right, you have like a feed of items. Okay, a very robust feed of items that really is like an infinite scroll. It's just like social media, right? You have this infinite scroll list of items that are tailored to you. Okay, now this kind of depends on, let's say, the marketing team that you're working for or the CEO, right? Maybe they want some type of feed, and that's going to be determined by yourself or your marketing team of what information needs to be fulfilled on that feed, right? You see what I'm saying? So it really depends on the user, obviously the end user. So you really want to find out what that end user wants, or how are they going to get that information. Okay, so for me, let's look through here. So for me, I like characters, I like my cars, I like game design, props, photography, world, female art, references. It's all for like drawing, it's all for like game design, it's all for like figure sketching, designing characters, or even just doing UI UX, whatever the case may be. So it really depends on it, right? And so when I'm saving my folders on my pins, right, let me go over here to my profile on well, we kind of determine this as the tab navigation at the bottom, right? The tab navigation. Sometimes people might call it differently. Down here at the tab navigation, we have a lot of information on the page. These are essentially our pins, or what would you call that? Your a board, right? So yeah, you would create a board and you put your pins within that board. Okay, so when you're thinking about it, the experience behind this, they're probably just saying like, well, I created a board, like a physical board. I want to put pins on that board, right? And in the same place, these might be images, these might be just information or just documents, whatever. It's the same case as creating like a folder, right? Creating folders on an app and putting information into that folder, right? So they had to think of a way to implement that on a mobile space or the website, right? So that goes for that. You know, when it comes to Pinterest, I love how fluid the interaction is, right? So you have like, let me try to go into one of them. Let's go to Aquarium Home. You notice how the page just opens up with this really cool animation. I love that. It's fluid, it's easy, it goes with the feel of Pinterest, you know what I mean? Pinterest is more like bold and open. It has like a more fluid approach to things compared to like, you know, different apps like for what we talked about earlier, Dropbox, right? Dropbox is more, I wouldn't say, more I would say like utilitarian-esque, right? You have like these very hard, almost hard edge icons and just more, it's less fluid and less bold and less big as like Pinterest. So that's really important when you're designing an interface. Think about not just the experience, right? Think about the brand and what the brand means to you and what it means to the end user, what it means to the marketing team, right? How are you marketing out the app to the end user? Think about that. So I love the animation, how they just, you know, it closes out and it opens up everything and it just hides and unhides things. It's kind of almost like Apple-esque, how like especially the new iOS 12 or iOS 13, which we're currently in right now, iOS 13, it's like, it's fluid, right? Let's see that again. So if I open up a page that was a terrible example. So you notice how that opens up like that, right? It's really nice. It unhides specific elements as it's opening up. It doesn't just open up and it's just like, right? It gradually opens up. Okay, let's try another one. Let's go back. It's really fluid, right? Let's go to the iOS images. Let's go to photos. You notice what I'm talking about here. So if I open up an image, okay, well, that kind of ruined my screen there. That's all good. And if I go to share, you can't see that. Great. Terrible example. Okay, well, yeah, that was a terrible example. But if you go to your photos, you can see what I'm talking about. Like, it's very fluid, and it's like this very fluid Apple-esque animation. Now, I called it Apple-esque animation just for this instance that we're talking about, this example, okay? There's not really necessarily an Apple-esque animation. It's just fluid. It's just followed through, nice, fluid, smooth animation, right? Let me bring this back into blue because I like my blue. Let's go for 12. There we go. Cool. So Pinterest is really nice. I love Pinterest and what they've done here. Now, if you notice on Android, it's a little bit less, it just goes straight to the page, right? Versus like opening up, loading things, and it's the operating system elements, right? Again, I spoke about this in my last video with Uber Eats, I believe, or was it Instagram? I think it was Uber Eats, yeah, where it really depends on operating system that you're working with. Apple, iPhone devices are very, the animation library for it is very clean, very nice and smooth. It's a lot more robust versus Android when it comes to like those different transitions or things that you're trying to do, right? And then you're gonna have to play along with Lottie animation, right? If you're trying to export out animations, you create the animation, you export it out as a .json or what we call it a Lottie file, and the developers will have to work with that, right? Lottie definitely works on both platforms. However, when it comes to like these transitions, right? When these specific transitions, you're gonna have to play around with it. Okay. Now you can go a little bit further with that transition for Pinterest. Like I feel like they just didn't want to go that far with it because Apple was just right there. Android, they probably just kind of had to play around with it a little bit more, or they just didn't have the time to work around that, especially from a developer end. So they just had a transition from left to right, just a simple page to page transition. So they just kept it really simple. Let's go ahead and create a pin real quick. So we'll create a pin. All right, so I'll create a pin. So add this image right here. Next, the title. This a beach. Description. example photo from the beach in Cancun. Let's get it. All right, so you can also add a link. I don't really want to do that. Let's go ahead and hit next. Let's go ahead and save it to one of my boards. Adventure Life Travel. There we go. So got a little toast message there that pops up a few seconds and goes away, just giving confirmation that you added a new pin, right? So Adventure Life, there we go. So our pins are there. Notice how some of the imagery or some of the videos on here are basically GIFs, right? They're GIFs until you click onto it and then you actually play the video, or maybe it's just a video right then and there. Like sometimes video platforms will use a GIF on top of the thumbnail, and then once you click into it, you actually see the full video. I think on this case, they actually did an initial video. Let me see if I can see it on here. It should play. Yeah, so the same thing. On here, they just really created a video. Once you click into it, it's actually going to play the video, or still playing the video, right? So really cool stuff. I love Pinterest just because like all the different things that you can do are part of it, right? It's a really good, enjoyable app, you could say. This is kind of weird. It's like a lighting effect in the background. I don't know. Is that? Yeah, it's the same thing too. That's kind of weird. But yeah, I really do enjoy Pinterest. Some really good stuff that goes on in the experience itself. I would test you guys out to go further into Pinterest and actually test it out. See what's different. See if you can find any nuances that are really interesting, right? Different experiences that are pretty cool. So yeah, so that's really it. So really the goal of this was just to talk about some of the experience a part of these apps, especially in this case, Pinterest. If you guys have any questions, concerns, or any ideas that you want to see next, a part of an app, want me to talk over some type of experience, or another app that you want me to talk about, let me know in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe for more videos later. And if you do like, it does help the YouTube algorithm so that this video can also be shown to more people. There we go. All right, guys. I will see you guys soon in the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye.